Today I'm going to look at a very interesting RCR plane. So it's this OMP Bighorn. It's a 1.2 meter RCR plane, balsa and plywood with flaps. A really sweet looking, excellent looking. I think in fact this is my best looking high wing RCR plane I've purchased so far. And sadly I've crashed this one, and not only once but 3 times, due to a faulty aileron servo. So the servo did work okay when I tested it, but then during flight it has actually given me problems 3 times. And the 3rd crash I really had to purchase a new RCR plane. So let's go outside and watch a flight on this one, because it's a really lovely flying RCR plane. You do have lots of power on this Bighorn, and it's also really agile. It's more of an aerobatic high wing RCR plane, like in the same class as the Timber X's from E-flite, Night Timber X, the Timber X. But in my opinion, compared to the Timber X's, this fun flies better than the E-flite Timber X's.
Landing flaps.
Let's do a landing then, just to try it out. And what I've discovered with this one, it is really easy to flare.
Time remaining 4 minutes.
It's really steady when you're on the final approach. And the flaps do work great to just slow down this RCR plane. So I didn't really flare enough, but let's get it up once more. So it will surely snap as well. We do have a really nice speed. So when you push the throttle, you get an instant response. It rolls really nice. I'm actually doing this on a reduced rate. So I've experimented a little bit, and I've concluded that the way I want to fly this one, I have 85% throw on all surfaces, and I do around 40% expo to have it control the way I like it. And I don't need really to do any 3D flying, so this level of control surface range suits my flying really nice. There's another landing then. So it is kind of stiff landing gears and it will bounce. You can also make it really soft. I think this is a fantastic looking RCR plane, especially when you have sunlight hitting the fuse in the wings. It's just shiny. And there's a super effective rudder on this RCR plane, so it's a really good idea to have a bunch of expo just to avoid it being over controlled.
Landing flaps.
So my flap is actually 50% for half flaps and 18% elevator mix. And I have 90% for full flaps and 20% elevator mix, which gives me a really level flight even with flaps. And when you gauge flaps, it doesn't really balloon, it just slows down the RCR plane. So really nice performance from the flaps. And the problem I had with my first one, the PMP version, one of the aileron servos just broke.
1 minute.
And sadly enough, I managed to crash it 3 times. So the first time I had to rebuild the nose section. The second time I only broke the prop. And then on the third flight, or the third time I crashed this OMP Bighorn, I really couldn't salvage the fuselage. So the wing was okay, but the fuselage and the landing gears just got ripped out because the plane just, dipped when I think the left aileron servo just went bust. And so the servo I put in this one is actually an Emax 20-gram servo, digital one, so it's a little bit larger than the 70-gram. So I just had to shoehorn it, but it worked fine in the end.
Flaps up.
So I mean, it does sound a little bit hollow. I'm not doing super smooth landings this time. And you can see this field is really rough. But it's just a fantastic flying RC airplane. Really fun, really beautiful, really agile. I'm so used to flying foam RC airplanes, so it's a really nice experience to fly this balsa and plywood RC airplane. And this is a fantastic flying RC airplane. I would go so far to say that this might be the most versatile and absolutely best high-wing RC airplane there is when it comes to what you can do with this one. And I'm not, going anywhere near where the limits of this RC airplane can do. So I think it's a beautiful RC airplane. I think it's super agile, and you can go certainly slow and control and scale-like if you like. I mean, just the finish and the performance is truly great. And it's also quite easy to build this one. So even if you get the ARF version, of course there are more things to mount, like the servos, but there are strings inside the wing, so it's quite easy to put the cables in for the servos. I mean, it's a quite easy built screws for most parts. So the only part you have to glue in is the rear stabilizer and the rudder part. Other than that, it's just you can use screws to mount it. And it does have this landing gears, which works quite good. It's not flexible, but they do work and absorb some impact. You also have 2-axis hatches, so this one is for the battery, and it's a really huge space. So I think you can actually fit like a 3200 without any problems. I fly this one on 2200 and get about maybe 6 minutes of flight time. And as this is an ARF version, I did use the motor from the PMP version and some servos. But the aileron servos, I have like Emax servos, metal gear servos, and I also put in an Avian 45 amp ESC. So it does use an IC3 connector, and this gives me full telemetry, and I have the ESC just in my toolbox, so I can make good use of it. Cabling is a little bit fiddly, but still okay. You have access on this top hatch where you have the AR637T receiver, and I did actually have to put on some extension cables for the servos just to have everything easy going to remove the wings. The wings are actually held by just a plastic screw inside, so it's quite easy to remove the wing pieces and have this one stored in a pretty good way. I mean, it's so agile, this RC airplane, and you can fly gentle or agile. So I would say this is probably one of the most versatile and best high-wing RC airplanes there are, or at least that I have tried. I mean, there are of course easier flying RC airplanes, but I think this one is fairly easy, and it's also super agile. So I like to just tone down the rate to maybe 70 or 80%. Because it's always easy to just over-control RC airplanes. But I mean, apart from the servo, aileron servo, that gave me a lot of problems, and I have to, you know, crash this one and rebuild it and purchase a new one, which is not a good thing. I think if you get good working servos on this one, or if you just purchase the ARF version and put, you know, trusted servo in this one, I think you will be rewarded with just one excellent flying RC plane. It's so fun and it's so agile, and it runs, you know, on 3S batteries, and still it's super speedy and super agile. So you can go crazy and just do lots of things with this OMP Bighorn.